Hey folks, Rico Rock 2001 here, making a video because I just got something in the mail today, and I wanted to review an accessory that I recently picked up. Well, I saw it for a good deal and I wanted to showcase it with you guys. I picked up one of those cheap wireless eBay controllers that you see reviews on, and I decided I'll pick up the one and give my thoughts on it. I'll link the actual product in the description of the video, but anyway, the reason why I'm making this video is because this is a response to a fellow YouTuber known as Keith Shizuo, Keithshizuo. He made two videos on the wireless PS2 controllers. He had the Type 1 and the Type 2. This is unfortunately the Type 2, but the photo I saw on eBay was a Type 1. I will mention the differences between the Type 1 and the Type 2. I don't have a Type 1, unfortunately. One day I may get one, but hopefully that will be soon. But this is the Type 2. The Type 1 had a switch at the top. The Type 2 has a switch on the bottom. The Type 1 also had an LED right where the mode is. While the Type 2, well, there were two LEDs there. There was a green one and a red one. The green one was for the wireless 2.4 gigahertz, and the red one's for DualShock, or the analog sticks, I should say. On this one, they moved it to the top here. Another difference is the battery compartment. I need to mention Type 1's, the battery compartment may be flimsy. This is the Type 2. In my opinion, I think the Type 1 had a better battery cover design. This one, you gotta give a lot of force to put it in there. I already installed two AAAs. Both versions take two AAAs. As you can see, I got Duracell Optimum because, well, I wanted the extra power or extra life. You know those commercials where they say extra power, extra life? This is the receiver that comes with it. This is the Type 2 receiver. The receiver on this one is nicer than the Type 1. The Type 1 only had the ridges on the side and not the flat on the top, so this makes it easier to pull out. I'll give them credit. Now, first impressions, what can I say about the controller? You know, this almost reminds me of my white controller that I got back in 2013. In fact, I still have that controller. Let me go ahead and find it. Just give me a moment. I'm going to fish it out. If I can get it out of there easily. I think I could Frankenstein the two if I wanted to. But anyway, here's it compared to my wired controller. You got a similar design. Both of them have a similar button shapes. I mean, if you look at X, circle, or cross, X, square, triangle, or square, they have similar design. Instead of the normal regular shapes, you got the little segments in designs. In fact, they almost feel alike. Although the buttons and thumbsticks are grayish instead of the black like what's shown here. Now, you may be saying to yourself, but Rico Rocks, don't you already have a wireless adapter for PS2? Yes, I got this Brook adapter I reviewed. Turns out this model I got is not just a PS1 or PS3 and PS4 to PS1 and PS2 adapter. This also works with the Switch Pro and the Xbox One controller. In the future, I'll demonstrate with a Switch Pro controller. I cannot demonstrate with an Xbox One controller because I don't own an Xbox One. One day I will, one day I may, one day I may not. But I use my PS3 or PS4 controller. I recommend the PS3 controller because the dead zones on the PS3 controller are very similar to a DualShock 2. The DualShock 4 is a bit more sensitive than it needs to be. I don't know if there's a fix for that, but maybe if I do an update, the PS4 controller will work better. But for now, I recommend the DualShock 3. So, I'll probably do a comparison between these two. I haven't tested out the battery life, so we're going to demonstrate this with a few games that take advantage of the... Well, let's move this guy out of the way. We'll test a few games out with this controller, and I'll give you my thoughts on it in the end. So, let's do a jump cut. Alright, I got Enter the Gecko firing up. So I'm going to test the buttons out with a PS1 game. Also, I got it reversed. The red light on the Type 2, well, at least my Type 2, the red light is for the connectivity, and the green one's for DualShock, or dual analog to be more specific. So, we'll load my file. I do not like this directional pad. Feels a bit mushy. I do like the shoulder buttons. I'll have to test it with Gran Turismo 3 and 4. Testing out the buttons. The right stick doesn't do anything, but if you don't have an official Sony controller, you can actually use the right stick to test some things. Just a fun fact I'd like to let you know. Now, it doesn't have to be a bootleg controller. Any third-party controller that has analog off, the sticks will turn into a D-pad and the right stick will turn into the face buttons. A little fun fact you'd like to know. So, I gotta say, this controller, so far, first impressions, I'm actually sort of impressed with this controller. Well, I should probably test it with a DualShock or a PlayStation 2 game. So let's go ahead and switch games. I want to test out the DualShock and the both analog sticks, so let's switch over to another game. Okay, I got Gran Turismo 3 running in the PS2 now. I had to do a jump cut because I think my PS2 laser is being a little picky with me. So we'll do arcade mode. And go ahead and fire up, we're going to do free run. We'll do C class. We're going to go with who cares? We'll do this one, racing. I just want to test the controller in action with. Let's get started. Well, see, I'm pushing lightly. Okay, maybe this isn't the right game to test out with the analog capability. Well, I'm going to switch over to Sonic Heroes, so be right back in a moment. Okay, I got Sonic Heroes in the PS2. Let's test out the analog capability with this game. We'll do challenge mode. Actually, no, we're going to do the tutorial. Of course, most of you already know how to play Sonic Heroes, so we're just going to select this and test out and see how this works. Well, the buttons, let's see. Push the stick lightly. Well, the analog stick feels more like a directional pad. Let's use the right stick. Compared to a normal PlayStation controller. Actually, before we test that, let's test out the buttons. Now I'm going to test this with my normal PS3 controller to show how a character is supposed to move around. I don't have my white PS2 controller because apparently a friend's borrowing it. So we'll test it with the other controller. So here's it tested with a DualShock 3 Brook adapter. Pay attention to the Sorry if I'm making you people dizzy. Well, this is a good way to test out the camera. There you have it. Well, I'll go over my final thoughts with the controller, and then I'll tell you if you should get it or not. Okay, let's go to final conclusion with that wireless PS2 controller. You may notice it's the next day. When I filmed the first several parts, it was the 23rd of August. It's now the 24th of August, the next day. So I'm going to give you my final verdict on that PS2 controller. You may notice I don't have it with me anymore. No, it did not break. It still works. I just traded it with a friend. He was interested in it. He wanted a wireless controller, so I'm sure he'll be happy with it. So, let me just say this. If you're after a wireless PS2 controller and you just want something that's cheap and generic and will do the job for you, then that's the way to go, that wireless controller. But if you want something that's going to be guaranteed that will actually function like a proper DualShock controller, like a typical DualShock 2 or DualShock 1, here's what I'd recommend. I'd go with the Brook adapter or the Katana controller, which is pretty spendy these days, or the SG controller, which is also pretty spendy. As for the GameStop variation controllers and the Mad Catz and Pelican stuff, I don't recommend Mad Catz. I've had experience with that Mad Catz wireless controller that I had from that unboxing of my ceramic white PS2. I didn't like that controller. The thumbsticks kept slipping off my thumbs. The buttons were too small. It was too small for my liking. And it took 3 AAAs, which I didn't like. I'm pretty sure the Pelican variation would have been better, but I have yet to be the judge of that. I've only tried the Logitech wireless controller, which I actually really like that controller. I went through 2 of them. And no, the first one didn't break. I sold it to a friend because I had a broken PS2 at the time. It was not my current one that I currently have. It was a 10-screw model that I made a discussion about in a previous video. So I gave him that Logitech one, although I probably should have given him that wired Pelican one that came with my working PS2, but oh well. And I don't need Logitech controller. I've got this Brook adapter. Now, I also need to mention there are different variations of cheap wireless PS2 controllers. My advice is go through every variation of them. There's even one where you can actually use it as either a PS2 controller or connect it through USB and use it as a USB controller, and I think PS3 as well. I've seen a video of that one. I'm not sure if that one's worth getting, but if you want to go for that one, I'll have a link to that one below. There's also, well, other variations. There's ones where have the power switch on the top instead of the bottom, like what I showed earlier. There's also ones where the face buttons are different shaped. This is the normal one. The other ones would have unique shapes, like the green one. I don't have the green one anymore, but they would have, the X would look like a snowflake, the circle would look like pipes, the triangle one would look like bent pipes, and the square one would look like, well, you know. But other than that, I think this design is beyond cool. I would totally have this design on an actual controller. Maybe I might pop this controller and swap it with this one. I'm not sure if it would fit or not, but if it does, that would make me one happy camper. But other than that, so that's my conclusion of the wireless controller. There are different variations. There's a Type 1 with a switch on the top. That's the one I'd recommend. And then there's ones with the switch on the bottom, which I'm not sure if that's the one you should go for. You should check out that guy's video on the comparison between the Type 1 and the Type 2. I wanted a Type 1 and I got a Type 2 instead. So, yeah, that's why I got rid of it. But I still have a wireless controller. Maybe I'll pick up another Brook adapter and I'll have player 2 use a DualShock 4. Something like that. So, thanks for watching. This is Rico Rockstyles 1 saying, well, let me just say, that's all I have to say. So, thanks for watching.